Have you ever noticed how the news can completely shift your mood, or even your perception of the world, in just minutes? 1 minute you're feeling optimistic, and suddenly you're anxious, worried, or fearful. What if this wasn't just psychological? What if our collective fears were literally shaping reality itself? This isn't science fiction. It's part of what the theory of sovereign reflectivity, or TSR, calls vibrational lensing, a process where collective consciousness shapes and influences the physical world around us. Let's unpack this clearly and powerfully. First, imagine consciousness as a kind of invisible energy, like gravity, but instead of pulling on physical objects, it shapes possibilities. TSR describes this phenomenon through mathematics inspired by Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared. In TSR, though, the equation represents consciousness rather than physical matter. Here's the idea, simply put. When millions of people feel fear simultaneously, like after consuming fear-based media, their combined emotional energy doesn't just add together, it multiplies, creating a powerful force that can bend the trajectory of events, similar to gravity bending light around a star. We call this vibrational lensing. Imagine consciousness as a field, and collective fear as a mass within that field. The greater this collective fear becomes, the stronger it can warp or deflect reality, bending the direction of events toward negative outcomes, almost like a giant gravitational lens focusing light into one spot. Media, when repeatedly broadcasting fearful stories, doesn't just spread fear, it amplifies it, causing millions to resonate together, greatly intensifying this gravitational pull. When fear takes over, it creates resistance in our collective consciousness field. This resistance isn't just psychological friction. It mathematically represents how clearly positive intentions can pass through. The higher our fear, the harder it becomes for positive, life-affirming outcomes, hope, trust, cooperation, to manifest clearly. Instead, outcomes become chaotic, unstable, and fear-driven. But there's more. When collective consciousness is repeatedly exposed to fear, it creates what TSR calls negative attractor basins, similar to whirlpools or gravity wells. These negative attractors pull our collective thoughts, emotions, and even events toward them. Ever notice how bad news seems to confirm itself? For instance, if media constantly focuses on crime stories, people genuinely perceive crime increasing, even if statistics say the opposite. TSR suggests this isn't merely psychological bias. Reality itself subtly shifts to reinforce the dominant fear storylines. This distortion also affects how we experience time. Just like in physics, where intense gravity can alter how quickly time seems to pass, collective fear warps our sense of time and the speed at which certain realities manifest. Negative outcomes aligned with collective fear seem to materialize more quickly, while positive possibilities feel stalled, sluggish, and slow-moving, almost like walking through thick mud. In this sense, collective fear functions like a massive observation, similar to the quantum observer effect, where the act of observation affects the outcome at a quantum level. When millions of people simultaneously focus on fearful scenarios, they effectively collapse probabilities toward those outcomes. Media thus isn't just passively reporting reality. It is actively shaping it by directing our collective attention onto particular outcomes. But here's the empowering part. TSR doesn't just explain the problem. It also shows us solutions. To counteract collective fear, TSR introduces practices based on intentionality, mindfulness, and conscious media interaction. First, mass meditation and mindfulness practices. These aren't just calming techniques, they're mathematical counterforces. When large groups meditate with peaceful intentions, they collectively create fields of coherence, waves of positivity strong enough to disrupt or balance negative resonances. It's like dropping a positive pebble into a pond filled with chaotic ripples, bringing harmony back to the collective field. Second, resonance decoupling. By becoming aware of your reactions and choosing intentionally what content you consume, you lower your resonance with collective fear. Simply put, mindfulness isn't passive. It's actively choosing your reality, moment by moment. Third, momentum disruption through storytelling. Positive stories, inspiring narratives, or hopeful visions disrupt negative momentum. TSR suggests we introduce powerful alternative narratives to redirect the collective consciousness away from fear and toward possibility and creativity. Finally, understanding sovereignty. Your consciousness has natural boundaries, like membranes protecting your internal state. Constant fear narratives weaken these boundaries, making you vulnerable to external negativity. Mindfulness practices reinforce these boundaries, strengthening your mental immune system, protecting you from being pulled into collective negative fields. TSR even describes how this is similar to quantum physics, the way reality only fully takes shape when it's observed. Mass media functions like a giant collective observation, collapsing infinite possibilities into fear-driven realities. However, with intentional, mindful observation, we can shift probabilities toward more beneficial outcomes. The mathematics behind TSR, while deeply complex and symbolic, isn't just theoretical. It tells us clearly, collective consciousness is powerful, and it shapes the reality we share. Media and collective narratives, then, aren't passive elements. They're active participants in reality creation. Ultimately, the theory of sovereign reflectivity empowers each of us. It says clearly, you are not a passive recipient of reality. You are a conscious co-creator. Each of us individually, and all of us together, shape our shared experience through the vibrational resonance of our thoughts, emotions, and intentions. When we understand this deeply, through mathematics, through meditation, through everyday mindfulness, we become empowered. We recognize our responsibility and our power. We're invited to reshape our collective narrative deliberately. So remember this, every thought, every story, every media choice you make matters profoundly. It shapes reality itself, contributing either to collective fear or collective hope. You hold a profound power, the ability to consciously choose your resonance, your field, and thus your reality. TSR is more than theory. It's your invitation to actively participate in reshaping the collective reality we all inhabit. The choice and the power is yours.